On July 16, 1960, a poster depicting Uncle Sam beckoning its viewers to join the US Army appeared first in Leslie's magazine. The creator of the poster, James Montgomery Flagg, had no idea how popular and influential this would become. The success was so good that the US Army used it again during World War II, along with other iconic posters such as Rosie the Riveter's We Can Do It poster. The trick behind its success was its psychological manipulation, a simple yet urgent communication directly to its audience. Propaganda existed forever. Due to social media and its influence in modern society, it has only become more powerful. The biggest change in its traditional form has been its decentralization. Earlier, it was a small group of paid experts who used to invent ways to influence and change people's minds. Now we have millions of people doing it for free. This is Vikrant. Please subscribe to our channel for future videos. Let's see what traditional propaganda is and the influence social media has made in its modern form. In a literary debate with Edward Bernays, who is widely known as the father of modern propaganda, Mr. Everett Dean Martin argues that propaganda is making puppets of us. We are moved by hidden strings which the propagandist manipulates. The word propaganda is derived from the title and work of the Congregation for the Propagation of the Faith, an organization of Roman Catholic cardinals founded in 1622 to carry on missionary work. The word can invoke positive feelings for some, but for most, the word brings out horrible images and memories of Nazi propaganda from the likes of Adolf Hitler and his men, or all the lost promises of the national politicians who now use the technique to garner popularity or power. The first large-scale use of propaganda happened during World War I. It is widely believed now that British propaganda, with its use of pictures, literature and film, mobilized public opinion against Imperial Germany and Central Powers during the war. After the German defeat, military officials like General Erich Ludendorff suggested that British propaganda had been instrumental in their defeat. Adolf Hitler, with his Nazi Germany, took it to another level in World War II. He had no limits on the way propaganda can be used on his people. This was easy for them as they had public support with charismatic public speakers like Hitler and Goebbels, and the massive strength of the army. Joseph Goebbels, with his Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, carefully started crafting messages that could mobilize the German population in support of Adolf Hitler, the Nazi military, and every effort or ideology brought forward in their power, which included deportation of the Jews and others to the concentration camps. Propaganda was the very foundation of the immediate rise in power of the Third Reich. Albert Speer, the chief architect of Hitler's regime, told the Nuremberg Tribunal that what distinguished the Third Reich from all previous dictatorships was its use of all the means of communication to sustain itself and to deprive its objects of the power of independent thought. This is crucial. Independent thought must be stifled. This should be the ultimate result of successful propaganda. The target must submit completely to the messages propagated by the person propagating. The leader, Adolf Hitler, mentions an important point in his book Mein Kampf that also seeped through the Nazi march toward the war: that violence and propaganda could and should be an integrated phenomenon. War and its articulation should go hand in hand as they are interdependent. Nazi came very close to executing this with absolute success during World War II. The success could be measured with this example during the end of the war in 1945, when the Berlin crowd of every age group, heavily blinded by the charisma and promises that Hitler embodied, fought for their leader, while the leader hid in the bunker planning to be safe against the army of the Soviet Union and the USA. Hundreds and thousands died in the ruins of the city and the regime. The world fears a time when this is completely achieved with the use of modern ways, which doesn't require loudspeakers and physical force to propagate lies to influence people. But lies and influence could reach a population with just one scroll of a computer screen or the click of a button, when an army of supporters could be brewed in the silence of a room and in the numb glow of a mobile screen. Let's see how propaganda has changed in modern times and how it's affecting all of us. Only decades ago, propaganda was mostly executed through films, posters, and speeches. In the modern world, it has become complicated and sometimes too subtle to catch. In wars such as the Afghan and Iraq wars, The invasions and the killings of innocents while chasing the actual terrorists were deemed essential for humanity's sake. The US used the technique known as black propaganda by disseminating false information to the Iraqi population through radio personalities who were supposedly Saddam Hussein's supporters. The New York Times reported in the year 2005 that the US even paid Iraqis to publish articles written by US troops in their newspapers under the idea that they were completely unbiased and real. US propaganda on its own people during this time has also been under scrutiny. To justify the war against Saddam Hussein, which is mostly seen in a negative light as a whole, the government provided millions in funding to professional sports organizations for pro-military messaging, such as saluting the active war soldiers and war veterans, or showing coverage in the news on the tortures being done under the Iraqi government. A famous quotation from Adolf Hitler's book Mein Kampf highlights one of the key factors that still works so well in the modern age. The art of propaganda lies in understanding the emotional ideas of the great masses. A propagandist understands this aspect and works on emotional persuasion to draw out the best results in the form of swaying people's opinions in favor of their agenda. Once this is successful, it becomes easy for them to make them act like puppets. There is no political party, even though they would say it is not the case, that wants their supporters to act logically and rationally. They want them to be emotionally invested. They strive to make hard opinions out of people and not to increase any form of knowledge. Knowledge and information in this case become the enemies which they should avoid as much as possible. Another way in this bracket is to label a group of people to dehumanize them. This is of course done by the propagandists to keep a strong supporter base in their wing and make them believe that they are like an almost imperishable family. Important word here is almost, and others might be dangerous to their unity. At last, persuading people emotionally can create larger-than-life leaders who are deemed to be essential to remain in power for the sake of their long-term benefit. Power does not necessarily come just from soldiers and weapons. It also comes from the ability to sell your ideas successfully to an audience. They can convince a murder to be right and a kind act to be treachery just by selling their idea. As normal grocery items or even books and services like booking movie tickets have become unimaginably easy for all of us since the advent of the internet, the selling of ideas has become unimaginably easy as well. Under the fast-paced barrage of news on all and everything, politics, society, crime, movies, sports, this and that, we don't have time to fact-check what is being fed to us. TikTok is the most downloaded social media app for the last year. It is fact now that youngsters from all over the world get most of their information or news from this single application. The users of the app do not recognize when they are consuming propaganda and believe them to be just a routine fact. There comes a point when, after numerous reruns of the same information, it starts to appear as if it has become a part of its own opinion. Many of the principles of manipulation that governed propaganda posters during the world wars have now evolved in the day and age of the internet in a form of artistic expression known as memes. While memes always had a comical purpose, they became increasingly involved with the political landscape during the 2016 US presidential campaign. Just like a political propaganda poster of the past, memes would incorporate visually striking imagery with communication intended to persuade people. In many cases, they were used to dehumanize the opposition and idealize the power. The alt-right particularly weaponized the meme format to spread poisonous disinformation across the wider audience. Characters such as Pepe the Frog were turned into a symbol for their virulent racist movement, building support for their cause. Studies have shown that memes and other such imageries, which on the outside could seem silly, can alter our subconscious, often in ways we do not understand. For example, an influx of memes deriding a section of society or a religious community might trigger a slow hatred or dislike towards that section or community. As this opinion amasses over a time period, a collective shunning of this section or community starts taking shape around you. This power of replication of anything is now possible anytime and from anywhere. We cannot hope for all the propaganda to go away. It's been a part of our society in the past and will be there in the future as well. But if we want to build a healthy society and a better future with fewer conflicts around us, we should desire the eradication of disinformation and lies. We must take the responsibility for ourselves and what we believe in. We should realize that words, languages, media, science, and even people around us can be weaponized. Disinformation or propaganda are weak on their own. Without our reactions, they all die a slow death. Research has shown that if we familiarize ourselves with the disinformation trade and how they operate, we can debunk the lie before it can even reach us. We need to realize that media houses are also biased. Before consuming the information as it is, we should check the source the information has been gathered from. We should be critical of ourselves of the information we are receiving, even from the group that our beliefs are aligned. We have provided below 2 interesting online games that can help assess your vulnerability to disinformation and fake news. Please check them out. Finally, ask hard questions to yourself. What are my opinions? Where have they originated from? Remember, there can always be 2 extreme effects on our choices. Millions getting plunged into a war, or a life built around trust and brotherhood. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you have any feedback, you can write it in the comment below. We will see you at the next one.